If you're getting home service done and you have multiple quotes, today we're going to dig in and find out who to pick. Welcome to the Garage Authority Podcast, powered by A1. I'm your host, Jonithan Phillips, and today, the return of the Mac, the VP of the West Coast, the great and powerful Brian Davenport. How are you doing, brother?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank
High
you, sir,
fives
for
every
having me
time.
again.
So on today's episode, what I wanted to get to clients is I can sit and talk about the technical things all day in Max Life Springs. I can tell you how IPPT for doors. I can tell you about door quality. But I think it's important for homeowners to know how a big company like us works. Because whenever I was a kid, you know, coming from the Midwest, small towns, it's like the big corporations. They don't care about you. It's just a money numbers thing. They don't even care about their employees. And that may be true for some companies. But I want them to know how a big company like us or other companies that we know in HVAC, like Gettle and those places, how they actually run. And the reason that I want them to know is I want them to know how much effort on the back end goes towards them. And they may care, they might not. But also what clients do care about is price. And I don't think they realize the systems in place, and it costs money for just the benefit of a technician being available in your market. Because for that one technician, there's a support staff on the back end and training. And so who am I going to bring on better than the operations man himself that was part of the journey that from A1 really took off. So if anyone can explain it simplistically to a client on pros and cons, how it affects you, and how our companies work, I'm going to pick Brian Davenport. Now, when someone calls a large professional home service company, what's actually happening behind the scenes before one of our techs or any other company arrives?
Primarily we're just sitting around with our feet up on the desk, just kind of kicked back and just, sipping our coffee. And
I can't wait to get back to it.
Yeah, really. I mean, you're interrupting my, no. There's really a lot that's going on behind the scenes that your typical homeowner or customer that is not in the industry, they're not going to see. From the phones ringing and being answered in a timely fashion and being picked up quickly, to the systems and processes, how much they have invested in technology or various softwares or different tools that are readily available. And trust me, there are for every problem you have, there's probably at least 100 different solutions out there, right? So how much time and energy and effort has that company put into researching all of those options? Here at A1, we don't just pick a software or solution that we think is the best because we like the person that's running it. We test them all out. Looking at different CRMs or different sales tools or whatever it is. It's not just going to be the first one, that the shiniest, brightest object that pops up or the newest one. We're going to vet it. We're going to take the time, energy, and effort behind the scenes to make sure that this is going to allow us and help us show up the way that we've promised our customers that we're going to show up. And then, the leadership team, the culture that company has is also going to come through very prominently in how those conversations are being handled, how those phone calls are being answered, how the technician's showing up. Did they set the promise up front that they're going to be there Monday at 8 a.m. and did they show up at 8 a.m.? Using, again, various softwares and programs that are out there. Did you get that text message ahead of time to say, here is the person that's showing up to your home? Safety and security is a forefront of our mind at A1 in the safety and security of our homeowners as we're showing up to your home. You've invited us into your home. Yeah. So we want to make sure that you know who is coming, what they look like, what they're about, a little bit about them, and probably just as importantly, when they're going to be there, right? So are they letting you know ahead of time, hey, here's when your technician's going to be here, or your technician sending you a text message saying, hey, I'm on my way? Are they calling ahead of time to say that I'm on my way and this is when GPS is saying I'll be there? Is it okay if I park up front or whatever the case may be, right? Like, are they engaging with you up front? I think really goes to show more of how that company is ran internally, having the right training in place. There are multiple ways to hang a garage door opener. There are multiple ways to install rollers. You ask 10 different technicians, you're probably going to get 10 different answers on how they want to do it. But the company that's showing up, they're doing it consistently across the board. That shows that internally they've focused on developing their teams. They've focused on developing their individuals to make sure that they are delivering that same level of service, whatever it is, however it's being done, that they're delivering that same level of service from start to finish. No matter who you get, no matter when they show up, that you're getting that same level of service. All boils back to the systems, the processes that they have in place, that they've taken the time, the money, the energy to really focus and invest on their people, invest in their people to be able to allow them to show up the way that they do and then be able to provide that amazing customer experience.
You want to know what I think is the biggest benefit? I have a big heart for the small mom and pop shop, and this isn't on it. You just got me to the point. Being a technician trainer, I get into debates with a lot of guys that come to the shop like, you should do rollers this way or you should do this way. And I think one of the biggest benefits that actually goes straight to the client is, okay, I want to support the mom and pop shops. A1 started as a mom and pop shop, okay? Mm-hmm. But Tommy didn't mess around. He didn't I made a $1 million. This is mine, and I'm going to get a house. Like, Tommy lived in an apartment up to 2020, 21?
2021, I believe is
21?
Yeah.
Even though he could have been done with this business because he kept putting it back into the training academy.
Yep.
And when I talk to these guys, take rollers, for example, changing them out. We have a very specific way out of the back of the track. It's the least invasive way to do a roller.
Mm-hmm.
Other guys come up, they're like, I can just pop it out with a claw hammer. I'm like, okay, this mom and pop shop, you guys run 20 jobs a day. How many jobs do we run a day on average, do you think, at this company?
Oh. I don't even.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, we have 400 technicians across. It's a lot.
Yeah.
What they don't realize is you can do it with a hammer, but any issues that we've ever had, because we run 10,000 plus jobs a month, 100, all the issues that we had with a roller install, we review all those, and it happened to be the one time where we did it with a hammer.
Yep.
Instead of the way that we taught. That's the benefit that clients can see. Is because, there might be a one-off at that mom and pop shop where they're like, oh, it's not a big deal. That was a one-off. We actually see we found consistencies, and we know that this is the best way as far as the client experience and also our technician safety. That's probably the biggest argument that I have when people want to, oh, no, you're doing it wrong. I'm like, I'm telling you, I thought that too, but we researched all the jobs, and it's not that.
It's not.
It's not.
And to that point, too, I think you open up even a deeper level of conversation, and it's not just the technical work that's happening in your garage when we show up. It's, again, back to how that phone call is being answered. How is that technician being routed? How is dispatch handling that particular call? How is inventory being managed? What kind of quality assurance is going into double checking that we're doing what we said we were going to do? Prime example of going back and looking at those jobs and seeing that, the one time we had a problem, we've changed thousands of them. The one time we had a problem, we didn't follow this particular process. The same thing goes into the behind the scenes that our homeowners aren't seeing, is that call center agent that's answering the phone, the dispatchers that's routing the technician. It's not just one job and one technician. In some markets, we're looking 40, 50, 70 technicians and hundreds of jobs that have to be routed at that time. How are they doing it to be fair and consistent across the board? And same thing, I've worked with several different dispatchers or inventory people or accounting people or different departments, and they're like, oh, well, at my last company, this is how we did. Okay, well, that worked great for them. I'm not saying, who am I to say that they're wrong? I don't work for that company. I have no idea what they do. But here at A1, this is the most efficient. This is the safest way to doing it. This is what's going to help us deliver on our promise to the customers and the communities that we serve, is to ensure that we're showing up consistently across the board, and this is what is going to reduce those headaches and those painstaking moments. No one out there prepares or plans for that garage door to break.
Ever.
It's the largest moving object in your home. It's the most dangerous moving object in your home, and it's the most neglected because people just don't understand and they don't know. Therefore, they don't budget or plan for it or prepare for it. So when you call into an organization, are they understanding of that, or are they just trying to get that big quick win or whatever? That's going to really differentiate. But a lot of that's happening behind the scenes that most people don't even know is happening.
It's huge. Now, this gets me to the point, and I'm never going to lie to clients. Like, we're not the cheapest. I would say we are the best price. A prime example being like a Max Life spring, just to make the math easy. Some people are like $1,000 for a spring, and some springs, and it can be more in custom. Yeah, because it's going to last you forever. It's the last spring. And when I say forever, springs eventually will break at some point. It depends on usage. It depends on climate. But if it does, we'll just, a little bit of labor so we can pay that technician for doing the job. And we don't just replace the one that broke. We do both. Mm-hmm. But then it's like, okay, $1,000 is a lot of money to people, especially when you're looking at, you can find a spring that, 10,000 cycles, literally 10 times less, but they're charging $400 for that. And they don't mind coming out every 2-3 years and doing it again and again and again, and a missed appointment. And hopefully it didn't actually do damage to the garage door operator or the garage door itself. But whenever I say there's price and cost, and Justin Tatum does this, it's like, the price is what you're going to pay, but depending on the quality of it, like what's the cost of you missing the doctor's appointment or work or when you're trying to get home late at night. And so that's what I want people to understand is that our price is definitely not the cheapest, but there's a reason, and it is fair. And honestly, it's a little underpriced in my opinion sometimes, because if I have a 10 times better spring and they're charging $400, cool. I'm not charging $4,000 for it right now.
Right.
All right. I'm trying to take care of you, but it does come with a cost. And that's what I want you to be able to explain to clients, like, why are companies like us more expensive? And there is a reason behind that.
Absolutely, there is. And that's a very fair question. I mean, as a homeowner myself, I've asked that very question.
Yeah.
As somebody that has purchased multiple cars in my few years that I've been around. I'm not going to age myself yet, but I've asked that very same question. What's the difference between going to buy a BMW or going to buy a Kia? Like, there are vast differences between there, and when you really boil it down to home service companies, the same mentality and thought process applies. The phrase that, and the first time I ever heard Tommy use this, I was like, I kind of cringed at it. I was like, was that really the message we want to get out? But then after, he explained it and we talked about it and I understood where it was coming from. A phrase that I've heard quite frequently is, you can have it good, you can have it cheap, or you can have it fast. But you only get to pick two of the three. Which ones are you picking? And there's a reason for that, right? Yeah, you can have cheap service. You can get the cheap springs. You can get the cheap openers. You can go to Home Depot and purchase it yourself and spend, 6, 7, 8 hours trying to figure out how to put the erector set together and how to hang it and make sure it's balanced and make sure everything's working properly. There are several cheaper options out there. We do not advertise as we are the cheapest company out there. And the reason for that, the reason being is, again, as I mentioned before, all the systems and processes that we have in place, that costs money to be able to invest into that. Our training facility, that costs money. We have to pay the trainers. We have to make sure that we pay for the flights for when they come out here. We put them up in the apartments. We make sure that they have everything that they need while they're here for training. All of that costs money. And then to be able to invest into the training systems to make sure that we're acting safely, we're acting with the A1 mentality in mind, and that we're following the process. We're doing it the A1 way. That takes time, money, and energy and effort to be able to do that, and we have to invest into those people as equally as we're investing into the technicians or we're investing into the installers. All of our employees across the entire organization have the same benefits available to them, right. And benefits is another prime example. Like, benefits are not cheap. I don't know if anyone out there has Googled or researched or used AI, if anyone's actually researched what the actual cost of health insurance is for a business. It is extremely expensive. Try going to get health insurance on your own. It's extremely expensive. So that comes with a cost. And there are, I've in my again 10 years in the home service industry, I've had this question before from homeowners, like, you guys are more expensive than, company ABC, I don't know, XYZ, whatever. You guys are more expensive than this company is over here. Yeah, you're absolutely right, we are, but and I can't speak to what that company's doing. Yeah. And I'm not in it.
They might be fantastic.
They might be fantastic. They might be doing really good work, and they might be cheap, but they're not going to be very fast at it. Maybe they don't have the parts on their vehicle already. Like, they're going to come out, they're going to review your system and say, yeah, here's what you need. I need to go pick this up from the supplier, or I need to order these parts. We have special orders, and we have one-off doors that require different parts to be ordered, but generally speaking, across just the general platform for most homeowners or most garages that we go to, they're going to have essentially what they need. Our technicians are going to have what they need when they show up to your house, and that costs money to purchase that inventory up front. It costs money to invest into the vehicles that can support the weight, that can allow us to have them clean and organized, to make sure that our technicians have the exact parts that they need. Yeah. The people that we have on the back end, again, going back to what's happening behind the scenes that we don't see from an inventory perspective, we need people there that are very educated, or very knowledgeable in inventory processes, and being able to source those parts, make sure that we have them delivered on time, that our technicians can go and pick them up. They do their replenishments once a week to make sure that their vans are completely stocked for when they show up to your house. So yeah, you might get really good service and you might get really cheap, but you're not going to get fast.
Yeah.
And then vice versa. We wanted to go down that analogy a little bit more. You might get cheap service and it might be fast, but what's the quality of work? How many times are you calling that company back out? There are some companies, and again, full disclosure, don't disagree with them. Yeah. However, there are some companies that are going to come out, you call us out, and they say, yeah, my garage or my opener is not working anymore. And they go and they look at it and they're like, oh yeah, your logic board is fried. We need to put a new logic board in here. And they replace the logic board, your garage door is opening and closing, you're hitting the moats, you're happy, you're ecstatic, everything's good. That technician leaves. They're in and out, they're in and out in under an hour, and everything's working and everything seems fine. And then later that night, later that week, that month, that year, however long it takes, all of a sudden something else goes wrong. And now you're calling them back out again, back to what you said Justin Tatum was talking about, the cost of doing business with that particular company is every time it goes down, you're now spending an hour to an hour and a half waiting for them to show up, waiting for them to go through the work, and you're calling them out multiple times. So yeah, you're getting cheap service and you're getting it fast, but it's not good work because they're still coming out.
Yeah. And I do know, and there's plenty of garage door companies, HVAC companies that do good work, and I'm a big fan of them. Yeah. I'm a big fan. But I do know there's also companies out there that, we have Max Life Springs. That's because they're manufactured on averages to last a lifetime of you owning a home, off the average people owning a home for 20 or so years. There's some companies out there that'll give you a 10,000 cycle spring, and they'll just say it's a lifetime warranty. And they do it on purpose because once they put that lifetime warranty, you're going to call every time. Well, they're like, oh, it was only $300. I called them on the phone. As soon as they get there, that was for one spring. So it's actually $600. Yeah, well, lifetime warranty, all of them. And they break every few years. Mm-hmm. And then, yep, it's a labor, but right now, what is it, $150, $200? Well, then in 5 years from now, it's $300, $400, and they're just, that's what they do. They just put that on there. And this is just a few companies, but it's so they don't have to put in work anymore because you're going to keep calling it. It's just again and again and again. And then by the time you're done using that company over 20 years, you spent $4 or $5 grand on springs whenever you could have paid once. Mm-hmm. That's the big thing that I want clients to understand. But I get it, maybe it wasn't there that day. But if you're really, really, what's the goal for your home? How long are you going to live there? And can a company back that up and align with your goal for your home?
Absolutely. And I think, the this is where I thought you were going with the point, but to that point of, they come out and they say, oh yeah, I'm going to sell you this 10,000 life cycle spring, and I'm going to put a lifetime warranty on there so you never have to worry about it again. And then that spring breaks, however long it takes, but that spring breaks, and you're like, oh yeah, I've got a lifetime warranty. And then you call the phone number on the invoice and you get busy signal, or you get no answer, or this customer is no longer in, or this service or this phone is no longer in service. Like, okay, now all of a sudden that fly-by-night company, they're no longer there to support the warranty. I think it goes even deeper at that point. Is that company structured and set up enough to be sustainable over time to be able to be there when that spring does break? It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Sprung steel, we're dealing with large moving objects and sprung steel, like, it is going to break, to your point as well. It is absolutely going to break. Is that company set up for success to be there when that spring does break? And that they're going to have your back. That company is going to have your back, and they're going to show up and do what's right and replace it for you adequately and get it done right and make sure that they're doing a full inspection on the entire door. When we go out, we don't just go and fix the spring or we replace the spring for you. We do a full 29-point safety inspection test on the entire garage door and the opener, to at least let you know here are some other issues that might be coming up. So that transparency also comes into play. But how is that company going to be 5, 10, 15 years down the road? Are they still going to be there to service you if that's really what they're selling? Yeah,
I mean, I realize companies start everywhere. You got to start somewhere. Sometimes that starts with a Facebook marketplace, Silverado with a magnet. But if they're telling you lifetime warranty and that LLC is 6 months old, let's pump the brakes on that a little bit.
Exactly.
Now, what's the biggest misconception, hopping around, homeowners have about home service companies, and what do you wish more people understood?
A lot to unwrap there.
Yeah.
I think the biggest misconception and what I've heard people say is these this company is just they're more expensive because their executives or their CEOs live in the high life and they're making all this money and they're doing all this for themselves. And again, like you said, that may be true for some organizations out there. Specifically speaking to A1, that is clearly not the case, because we focus on investing back into our people, from not just the initial training up front, but continued education, continued training, evolving with the times, evolving with the world around us and how we're showing up. Not, we go all the way back to 2020 when everything got flipped upside down. The entire world got flipped upside down on us in a drop of a hat. How quickly did those companies that survived the pandemic, how quickly did they change and evolve and adapt to the world around us at that time? Right. Being able to go out and source the materials because no one else could get them. How are we going to source our own materials? How are we going to find them?
I remember in training having to make springs from scratch.
Yeah.
That's what we did. I mean, training classes of 20 students with cones and everything like that. We were just out there all day just getting all the springs ready so we could still service our clients. It's huge.
And I think a lot of that boils back to the morals and the ethics that company has as well, because from our perspective, when that happened, our primary thought as we realized that everything was getting shut down and everybody was being told to stay home, and uncertainty with what was happening around the world around us, our primary thought was, what about our employees? We can't furlough all of our employees. Like they're like family to us. Like we just don't want to just kick them to the curb and leave them out in the world with no jobs, right? So how do we, as an organization, as a company, how do we help protect those that have sacrificed so much for us? The morals and ethics that come into play with that. To be more expensive than everyone else is not unethical. It's the practices that go into it. How are they doing it? Are they showing up ethically? Are they showing up morally? Are they showing up clean, ready to go, organized, well-stocked vans, ready to service your needs right then and there, and then talking to you and understanding what you want as the homeowner, what you want or what you need, and then being able to offer you those solutions will really indicate the ethical behaviors that they're practicing. Right. If they're just coming in and just walking in and saying, yep, you need all of this, here's $3,000 bill, just go ahead and sign here and I'll get you all taken care of, without actually pausing to educate you and teach you about what is being done, then that will kind of lead a little bit into the world of what's happening morally and ethically.
Right. Yeah, the one thing that kind of tickles me with like I said, we're not the cheapest, and I probably shouldn't care, but I do look at jobs and reviews and what people are saying, and I get really upset sometimes because I don't want to comment and I don't want to be mean, but sometimes I get a review of like, oh, they broken spring, they wanted to charge me $3,000, and I'm just like, we don't have a spring that's $3,000, and then I look in there and I'm like, no, there was options to like fix the entire door, but there was an option at the beginning for the most basic spring as well. Mm-hmm. So I'm asking that clients understand, like, whenever a company comes out there, don't be upset that they have one option that's way more expensive than what you thought it would be. If they're only giving you that option, okay, that's a problem.
Right.
Unless they can really explain, hey, this is what you think is the problem, it's not the problem. But if they're not giving you at least 3, 4, 5, 6 options, we give options here, not ultimatums. That's a big phrase that we say around here.
It's a huge win, yeah.
And I wish on some of those jobs, because I'll look into that job specifically, be like, okay, person's name I look at, I'm like, you have 6 estimates, and there's plenty of them that were not.
Yep.
Just the one made you mad that it's possibly that. So I just want people to understand it's not just garage doors, it's any home service company. Like, this running the show is expensive. Like you were saying, just the quality from that phone being available to the training of the person talking to you, making sure we get the right person to you, the dispatch and how they're going to do the technician, everything that went to the warehouse and the vehicle, all the way through the training that they've had, the support staff for technical or parts ordering or the management or the training center. Like, it's a lot to just have good quality come to your door. That honestly, the art of service, that's our jam. That's our price. That's the reason why we have it. Now, before we leave, we've gone over a lot of stuff, but encompassing this, is there any last messages you have for any of the clients listening on picking a home service company, or why the prices are this, on how they're going to take care of their home in the future?
Yeah, when you're looking at home service companies, or you're looking at someone that's going to like I said, that you're inviting into your home to address your concerns or your needs, look well beyond the price. You brought up the reviews where they talk about the really high estimate, and I called somebody, it was $3,000 for they quoted me $3,000 for this, and I went to this other company and they did it for $600. Okay, what's the rest of the context behind it? But the opposite is also true. Look at the other reviews. Like, we have probably thousands of 5-star reviews where customers flat out said, yeah, they definitely weren't the cheapest, but the quality was there. They showed up. They treated me and my wife or my mom or whomever with respect, and they educated us on what it was. And it was definitely a lot more expensive than what I was anticipating, but it was absolutely worth it because of the way that they showed up. I think that is going to speak volumes as well, because, again, going back to, is it cheap, is it fast, or is it good? You get to pick 2 of those, kind of really falling into those categories of, yeah, it's going to be more expensive, but I know that I'm going to have the peace of mind as a homeowner that door is going to continue to work for me. It's going to continue to do everything that I hit the button, it goes up, and I hit the button and it goes down. That's what I need it to do, and that's what it's going to do once you have that peace of mind because of the quality that's built into it. Having various systems and processes, and being able to record various phone calls so we can go back and do the quality assurance checks on it, and the checklist and recordings that we have inside of our CRM to be able to go back and see our technician did show up and do exactly what they were supposed to, or they didn't. And then we're gonna, we'll address that. Yeah, we're gonna address that privately, right? We're going to have that conversation with that employee, but investing in those tools and resources to make sure that we're showing up and delivering that 5-star amazing customer experience every single time is really what's going to put your mind at ease as a homeowner and make sure that problem is fixed once and for all.
You see why I brought this guy on? You see that? It's a lot more to it than you think, brother. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you.